Right, ready?
Yep.
Okay.
I'm primed.
Welcome to the Mind Deck Books podcast. Today we have a special occasion to join us. What? I don't know what that means. To be in Paul's professional workshop. Awesome. You might see this on video.
You might.
You might not see
You
this on
might
video.
not, yeah. So, how are you doing today?
I'm very excited. I'm doing great. I'm
Alright.
very happy to be able to do an episode in person. So it's much more energetic, and I think there is much more response and reaction.
Should be.
Yeah, and I'm excited to talk about this book. It was lots of fun. And also, we have a very professional setup. I've never had this much setup on me ever, as far as video production goes. You have cameras, 360 camera, we have like camera on Paul, camera on me, a microphone, you have noise cancelling,
And you might not see anything.
and you might not see any of this. It's
might-
gonna be ridiculous.
You're like, yeah. Anyway,
Yeah. How are you?
I'm gory damn prime, boy.
I expected this later, but not. Okay, yeah.
That's why I wanted to introduce it.
You're all prime. Yeah.
I'm prime, my good man.
Well, I'm going to start with saying that I've noticed a pattern in our literary choices when it comes to Paul, me, and you. And I want to quickly mention that when I read a book, the first thing I have is, are there aliens? Are there aliens? Oh my god, aliens. That's how I read a book.
Okay.
When Paul reads a book, he's like, is it depressing? Swords? Depression? Yes! Somebody killed themselves. Okay. And with you, I was thinking about that. And I have a theory. What is your thing? And I have a test to see if I'm right.
Are there boobs?
I don't think you care. So I have comprised a list of movies. And if my theory is right, one of them is obviously something you hate. And one of them is something you definitely dislike. And the other ones you have to love for my theory to be correct.
So what was that again? Something
I'll give you a list of movies.
Okay.
And there is one that is obviously a movie you don't like.
Alright.
And there is another one that you also don't like, I think.
Okay.
If that's the case, then I'm right.
Okay. Let's go.
So I'll just read the movies. Some of them you might not know.
Alright.
I think you should watch them if you don't, because I think you'd like them. But if you don't know, just don't worry. So there's Black Hawk Down. Have you seen that?
Yes.
Riddick,
Yes.
Northman,
Yes.
300,
Yes.
Any Given Sunday.
I know it. I haven't seen
It's
it.
about American football.
Yes, yeah.
You should watch it. Mission Impossible,
Which one?
the first one.
Yeah. Long time ago.
Heat with Al Pacino, Robert De Niro.
It's been on my watch list for
I
a
love that
time,
movie.
but I haven't seen it. No.
Crank,
I know it again on my watch list. Haven't seen it.
Near Dark. It's a vampire movie.
Is that by the hack German director?
Maybe. I don't know who directed it, right? So it's a very specific vampire movie.
No, haven't seen it.
So which of these movies, which of those you dislike?
Even the ones I haven't seen.
Those you have seen.
I'll probably have to say 300.
Oh, really? Okay.
Out of that list, yeah.
Do you like Mission Impossible? That was the obvious choice I thought you wouldn't.
Yeah, I didn't. To be on hindsight, I didn't like it.
And what do you think about Riddick?
It's dumb, but it's fun.
Okay.
Mm.
Well, my theory was that you like things that are rough. Not meek, not puny, no pusillanimous people in it. Nothing like that. And you don't like things that are smoothed out for the general audience, like Mission Impossible and things like that. So is that true?
Yeah, I'd say like something like that's kind of gritty. Sure.
Exactly. So you want
Riddick was okay. Yeah.
you want grit, you want man, you want
Yeah, I want a man's man.
yeah.
Sure.
So I think that's your deal. So we have a very distinct literary choice on this podcast: aliens, depression,
Men.
men.
And okay.
So that's why, hopefully, coming up in the future, you're gonna have a special guest reading a book of a Japanese writer. We won't say names yet, but I'm praying this is gonna happen. Like I said, we would like to broaden our horizons and read things we don't usually read,
Yeah.
which is not this episode.
totally not.
This time we're talking about Red Rising by... Say his name correctly, please.
Pierce Brown.
Yeah. One of Paul's favorite series.
Yeah, actually, it's one of the I've actually bought each book in the series, and I'm hanging out for the final one that's coming out, book 6 next year, hopefully.
There's also 7, I found.
No, I haven't heard anything about 7.
I did. I have it right here.
What? What's it called?
It's called Red Guard. To be announced. So 2023, Lightbringer.
Yes, Lightbringer.
And then after that, it's going to be Red Guard.
All right, he's milking it for all as well. Good for him. Yeah. Yeah, it's one of the series that I've kind of pre-ordered it the first time that book for Dark Age, the 5th book. Yeah,
I can see very much I like it. I have many reasons why I think you love this, because you mostly listen to audiobooks.
Yeah,
I think this is a very well adapted audiobook in the sense of it's even better in audio than the text.
I wanted to mention the narrator. Do you have his name?
We can cut and I can find it if you want.
Yeah, he's an Irish narrator, and I think he's fantastic for this book. He does, especially later where he does this accent in between.
Yeah. It's awesome.
It's quite amazing how he's sort of balancing this sort of posh English with this sort of
it's lots of fun.
hinges of Irish, and he does it so well. I've got his name. I would like to check on my phone.
Just go.
Using them.
Oh, okay, I'll check. Sorry, I didn't realize you didn't have any phone. I was
Tim Gerald Reynolds.
Oh, really?
I'm sure it's Tim Gerald Reynolds. Yes.
Okay.
Is it?
Yeah. You are completely correct. Wow, you are a big fan.
Yes. Yeah. In the second sort of trilogy, there's actually additional narrators. So in the first trilogy, he's doing all the voices.
Okay.
But in the second one, they bring in a bunch of actually women and other voices. Pretty good. There's only one character that kind of annoyed me, but that's later.
Yeah, I was absolutely 100% sure clear why you like this when I started listening to this book, because it's basically drunk Irishmen fighting each other in sci-fi schlock on Mars. It's like, yeah.
That's how I wanted to say how I found the book, because a few years ago I was really into Audible, and I was just like, they had a sale, and I was just scanning through the books, and you can listen to samples, and I was like, drunk Irish people on Mars?
Yeah. Oh, fuck.
I'm not gonna lie, I'll just download this and buy it straight away. $5, sure. You know what I mean? And I never regretted it.
Yeah, so one really good point is audiobook awesome. Accents awesome. Very easy to follow, go through, enjoy. It's a very light book. Even though it gets dark and serious and it's kind of dramatic, it's very light-hearted, like in the sense you can just consume this very simply. Like,
yeah, I think there's that other thing too, like as you said, it's very light, but I mean, a lot of people die in this. It's quite violent, but you don't come away with it thinking that was a violent book.
This is actually one of my problems that I wanted to get into. Maybe I can just say it now. I missed the humor in it. It's not really funny.
No.
And I think that's a missed opportunity.
There's one character that kind of I find amusing.
It's amusing, but it's not funny.
No.
There are no jokes.
No, but there's that kind of Irish humor coming through a little bit sometimes.
A little bit, yeah. But I would, if it was like playing up, like hemming it up sometimes, just for the fun of it. Like the characters themselves are like that. I felt like they would do something silly like that, like especially in the middle and later half of the book, when they are in a bad place and people are dying, of course, but when they are in a good place and they're having all this fun, I was sure there's gonna be some nonsense joke, like one-liners or something. Especially when the people are in power and they just control everybody else. Why wouldn't they be just like, pricks about it, like having some fun with it? Which they did, but they didn't really have a joke about it, which I missed.
Interesting, because I've watched Pierce Brown in interviews, and he's actually quite a charming, witty, funny guy.
Yeah, he looks fun.
Yeah, but I don't think he was that. That was the angle he was sort of going for in the book.
It's not bad. It's just like something I was expecting and kind of wished for, and I didn't miss it that much. I just like kind of wanted it.
Fair enough.
Yeah, so Pierce Brown is really young. I didn't know.
Yeah. I think he wrote this book when he was like 22 or something.
25.
25?
Sorry,
Okay.
20 less 25 he released it.
Yeah, but he wrote it quite when he was young. He's like a political science major or something, I think. He actually worked on Senate campaign or something for, I think, a Democratic
Yeah, he just
candidate or something.
yes.
Yeah, so he was involved in politics a bit. Just when I recommended this book to a friend and speaking to someone who's a former communist.
Excuse me.
Communist bloc country. Did you find any commie overtones in this book?
Yeah, I'm not the person who cares about this.
Yeah, neither was I, but I was just wondering if other people picked up on something. There is a hierarchy.
Like even the Three Body Problem trilogy, there is so much of that. And of course I see it, but I don't like cling to it. I don't want to think about it. This is what I'm saying.
Okay.
So I see it there, but it's not played up as much.
Okay.
So it's not getting in the way.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not into that much.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So when he was writing this book, he contacted 120 agents to publish it. And only after 2 years of contacting 120 people, they published it.
Oh, wow. I
So,
didn't know that.
so if you're an aspiring writer or podcast producer, maker, recorder, don't give up.
Follow your dreams, kids. This is it. Yeah, the other thing too. Wow, I didn't know that. Wow.
And he also wrote it in 2 months, do you know?
He wrote on a break or something.
Yeah.
Summer break or something.
So he was living in his former professor's garage.
Oh, okay. I
And
thought it was a back experience.
That's when he wrote it. And I was like,
wow.
it's funny because his parents are so prestigiously revered.
Yeah.
You should cut this part.
Okay. Great. Sure.
Well, never mind. They are just his mother was a CEO of something else, chairman of something else, a huge company. His father was a banker, and I don't think he had any trouble with anything in his like comfort life.
Making ends meet.
Yes.
Yes.
So I think he just did whatever he wanted, and then he just put himself to do something, and he did it very fast. And I would say really well. The book is really well written.
Yeah, it is.
I'm amazed.
Yeah.
When I was 25, I was like 22 when he started the book. I haven't even read the book. No, I'm just kidding.
There's another thing as well. Like originally, I was talking about this before. He had a movie deal, and then that fell through.
Yeah.
And then apparently had a deal with like Netflix or something to produce a series.
And that should happen.
No, he's bought back the rights.
Oh.
And it seems to be just stuck in some kind of development.
Well, I read it was stuck, and then in 2018, he got the rights, and he got in some kind of a deal with like the streaming companies.
Yeah, Netflix.
And in 2021, it's supposed to be happening.
And we haven't heard anything. I've checked a few months ago.
You would know.
Yeah, and
So
like he has the rights. That's all. Apparently, I think he's got the rights back again. So, will we ever see a series? I don't know.
It would work. Well,
yeah, how would you do the colors and everything?
I actually have a very specific idea how I would adapt this.
Okay.
I wrote a bunch of stuff about this because I kept thinking about this so much when I was reading it. There is a term called ludonarrative dissonance and ludonarrative harmony. Do you know that? One of my favorite things to think about. Like when it works, it's really showing. It means that the thing the characters are doing are in harmony, in alignment with the things that are in the story. And the thing that this is a problem in is video games. You have a very dramatic scene and the people are traumatized by killing somebody, and then you go and murder everybody in the game, like in the gameplay. That's ludonarrative dissonance.
Yeah, okay.
If the game is about death and war and then you kill people, it's ludonarrative harmony. And this book doesn't do it at all. This book is, I feel like, ludonarrative harmony in the sense that there's a lot of death and killing, but it's very much in service of the story and it makes sense. And that's why I think it'll be perfect for video game. And I was thinking about this so much. There's so many scenes and fights and like the progression of the story. It would be a perfect video game.
Okay.
And especially the world management. I think this would be so good if they adapted this in the sense of a game I played a long time ago called Command and Conquer Renegade. Do you know these games?
I know Command and Conquer, yeah.
But you don't know Renegade because that's an FPS
Okay.
where you play on RTS. You run around like a soldier, but then you get into a building like a command center and you control the battlefield.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay.
So you play like both. And I think that's what they do in this book a lot. They fight the fights and they organize the battlefields and control the armies and give orders to like units, which that would be perfect just.
Oh yeah, I get it. Right.
And it would serve the story like completely. And the plot would drive it forward so well. It would be like an amazing video game where the narrative harmony would be everything was working together. So I was thinking about this would be a perfect game.
Okay.
Yeah, don't play Command and Conquer Renegade, by the way. It's very bad. The only thing I remember about the whole story is the character constantly saying, "I've got a present for you," and then he chucks a bomb.
I was gonna say it's like weapon or something, isn't it?
And that's it. And that's the only thing I remember from the story. Yeah, that's I was going to say that.
Okay.
So there are 7 books planned, 5 books released, prequel series of comic books.
I've read them.
Are they good?
I have this thing with comics that I read them and I don't seem to recall anything from them. I don't know why. I think this is a kind of weird mishmash of illustrations and story and dialogue, and just nothing seems to resonate with me. I remember I thought it was interesting because I was into the lore of the world and everything. So if you enjoy the book and you're kind of interested in the lore and the background and you would enjoy it, but it's nothing that's going to stick with you. I think. Okay. For me, that's just me in comics. So
it's also unusual he hasn't written anything else than the series.
Why would you? You're making money.
You'd want to try something, maybe. No?
I don't know.
He's just going for it. So 2014, the first one was released, and then every year, so 2015, 16, then 18, 19, and then there's a break. So 2023 is the next one.
Yeah, the next one, was it Lightbringer? Yeah.
Yes.
That was supposed to come out, I think, this year or something. But he put a big post out on, I think, Reddit or Instagram saying, "Look, I'm doing a big rewrite. It's not turning out the way I want it to be." And I think that's why there's a big delay with it. But on his timeline, it should have actually already been out, and he hadn't written it, but this wasn't. So he's actually gone back and, I think, rewritten the whole thing.
I would want to read something else of his that's not in the series, is what I'm saying. That's why I'm like kind of disappointed he just writes that.
This is what he likes.
No, of course. I think he loves it, but it's nice to just try things. That's what I'm saying.
Fair enough. All right.
So is there anything you don't like about this?
No. It's perfect.
I think we're having like a little bit of an internal quarrel with Paul this time. Because I've made Paul read the first book of my favorite series, Ender's Game, by Orson Scott Card. And now I'm reading your favorite book of the favorite series. And
it depends what you want out of it, though.
And I have the same problem you had with my book.
Okay.
There are too many battles, and I don't know what happened.
Yeah, there is a comparison that comes up a lot, and I haven't read those books of the Hunger Games that comes up later, the second half. It's kind of the book is like 2 halves, I feel, and like thirds, I guess. And that comparison comes up a lot. But you read the Hunger Games.
Yeah, I've read all of them, and it's very similar.
I thought so. Yeah.
But very different.
Okay.
But just to finish my thought about Ender's Game, like I didn't feel like the battles, especially near the end, when they repeated like this kind of battling like kerfuffle, had any point. And at some points they even skipped them.
Okay.
And the pace was what I was kind of struggling with. The first part is kind of slow. It's not bad. Then it gets really good and perfect. And then it gets like too fast. And at the same time kind of drags because it's the same. And it's...
You talking about Ender's Game or this book?
No, this book.
Oh, okay.
So I really loved the first half.
Okay.
Like maybe like not the very beginning, but when it starts going, then it was perfect. Then it kind of lost me a little bit because it was the same.
Yeah, there are some little twists and turns, but yeah, I get what you mean.
But then I don't mind it's the same, but I mind it was the same and it skipped the parts. And I was like, what?
Okay.
There's like a setup, there's gonna be this battle, and the battle was won. And I was like, okay, so why do we even talk about it?
Alright, we can get to that later.
That was my only pet peeve.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think much prefer the first half of the book than the second half. There are some parts in the second part who were like, "Ooh, that's a bit rough," and I'll talk about that later. But it's kind of setting it up for the future books, I guess, as well. I mean, for a first outing of a book, it's pretty good.
It is pretty good. I liked it very much.
It's not the perfect book, but
I'm not say I loved it, but I liked it very much.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just looking for something fun.
Yeah, it was very fun.
Yeah. So that's it.
And before we move on, I wanted to ask you about the sequels. For people who are thinking like
It's knocking everything right.
that's fine. For people who can't see us, we have like a very Japanese setup with a table. We can't fit our legs anywhere, and we have pretentious like glasses made in France that don't stand still, and you can like roll them around.
Don't break it. It's my wife's. Okay, sorry. Go on.
So, how do you feel about the sequels? Does it get better? Is it longer? What do you think?
They definitely get longer. There are a lot more characters that are introduced. Some of them are really good.
Okay.
Well. Probably the third book is one of the strongest.
That's what I wanted to ask you. So after that, it's kind of doesn't degrade, or does it keep up the quality?
I think, yeah. I mean, it's kind of like that. Everything like this, the second one, it's always a bit of a letdown after the first is such a good start.
Oh, I don't get that with books actually. I feel like the series usually get better as they continue. For me personally.
Okay. No, I would say actually really the third, the fourth, and the fifth book are probably the best ones. The second one is probably at the bottom at the moment. The second one wasn't one that I went back and reread. Actually, I just read it once.
Okay.
And the others I kind of reread a couple of times. So. But that was like a couple of years ago, so it's kind of a little bit fuzzy at the moment. So.
Okay. Yeah. So a few quick things I just want to ask you before we get into spoilers.
Sure.
How do you feel about the women? Because this is a book about men, and you can think about it before say anything. I want to say the comparison with Hunger Games we kind of skipped. Hunger Games is more on the relationship side and much more streamlined to be mainstream, more easily consumed for general audiences, very much including the female side. Whereas this one is like if the Hunger Games were for nerds and like people who like video games and like, you know, which is great for us, but I think it very much puts off the other people like in these stories.
That's a good question, actually. Yeah, I think it's a difficult question to answer because we need to first explain like the story is based on a color hierarchy system. So one color is at the top. These are the golds, and going through different colors, and the reds are at the bottom. And they're all sort of genetically engineered differently. So the women in different hierarchies have different qualities. So it's kind of hard to say. Can I generally brush?
No, I meant more like the women characters and the romance, because there's always, this is what I was dreading.
Okay.
Like in the Hunger Games, this is the main deal. Like the romantic interest and the love story is like the main focus of the whole thing almost. Like there is the post-apocalypse, there is the fights, there is this and that, and like the society. But I almost feel like people watch it for the romance.
No, okay.
And this one, I was like, it's gonna be something. But
there is something, but I mean, it's.
But I liked it. I liked it a lot. Like the romance or the relationship between some of the characters that get kind of fall in love was very surprisingly well done. I was very surprised. That's what I wanted to say.
Okay.
I liked it.
Yeah.
Because at one point in the book, there is like a moment where a character sees another character naked. Until then, they didn't have any interest as far as the opposite sex goes. And I was like, that's obviously going to be the love interest. And it wasn't at all. And then it was something completely different. And then it kind of makes sense. Made a lot of sense why that didn't happen and this happened and how the relationship turned out. And I was very surprised. I really liked that.
You might be disappointed when you read other books. Sorry. But, okay.
I was about to compliment that he's so clever about this. So now you've destroyed it. You've crushed my hopes.
No, I think, but he does that again in other books as well. I think that the organic nature of the relationships is quite well portrayed.
Yeah, I like that. I was surprised by that very much. And the fights, do you like the fights? Like the description of the fights?
Not really.
Yeah, that was kind of a disappointment for me.
Okay.
There's sort of sword fights and like sci-fi fights, and somehow they are not as exciting as I hoped.
No, they have these. Well, we kind of spoil it a little bit, but they have these special weapons called a razor, which is sort of like a coil, but you press a button and it goes straight or contracts and stuff. Later in the books, they have these sort of duels where they're kind of fighting with the razors. A little more exciting, but again, it's not really the main point of the story, I guess. The stories are more political, I guess.
Yeah. But there is a lot of fighting.
Yeah, there was a lot of murder, yes.
And that's why I was kind of let down by the fighting wasn't as much thrill.
Okay.
Like I kept thinking about Dune, sorry. Like there are a lot of knife fights in Dune, I don't know if you know.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And the knife fights are somehow very well imaginable. Like there is like points in the fights why people do things and how they move and what they think and what they expect and what they react to. And it's kind of exciting in a very different way. And here things happen in a much more visual way and exciting way, but it's not exciting. I don't understand why. Like it's like the things that happen if you saw them in the movie, it would be awesome. But here it's kind of like, okay.
Yeah, I think the plot is just sort of overshadowing that. So
that was my qualms about this.
Yeah, fair enough. I wasn't into much of the action. Some of the action later in the other books is quite sort of unique. Like the setting or scene is kind of cool. But the action itself, I don't know. If I want to see action, I'll watch it.
Okay.
Yeah, I just don't really get much from a book.
I kind of thought that this was like one of the action, like, books.
Fair enough. Sure.
But it's not, and it doesn't really matter. So we're gonna get in the details about this book. It's only 382 pages, so it's not a huge thing, and a lot of things happens. That's one of the reasons it's so easy to read, because it just moves. And yeah, I guess we said everything.
Yes, I think there's nothing else.
So there's a lot that happened, so we're gonna try to sum it up like reasonably.
Yeah. So we're going to go into the spoilers of the plot.
Yes.
As generally as possible. I will start up. As I mentioned, it's a color hierarchy system. I think of the golds, the rulers, and underneath would be silvers, whites, maybe medical people, blues, sort of IT people, greens. Sort of,
I missed the IT people completely.
Yeah, coppers. The tin men, who are just sort of like the police.
That's funny, the police is so low.
And they've got the pinks, who you can imagine what they are. And at the bottom are the reds. And there's like a low red and a high red as well.
Is there a pink that's a man?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I didn't remember.
Yeah, we can do a little game later on. What color would you be? But
I'm blue, and I'm very low.
I'm pink. Just giving hand jobs in the alley. I don't know all the skills, guys.
Ridiculous.
I'm not a ruler. I don't want to dig in a mine. Fucking hell. So, it starts off with the main character called Darrow. He is a helldiver. What's a helldiver? These people are working on Mars, and they're on these giant claw drills, and they're mining for helium-3. And these guys think they're the pioneers. We're preparing Mars for the rest of the colors to move to Mars.
It's far in the future, and we're colonizing other planets.
But the Reds don't know that at the moment. This is a setup of they think they're the pioneers. They're the frontier people. Yeah. That the other colors have not yet moved. So they're preparing the world to become like habitable for the rest.
So I was thinking, does it make sense with the helium? Do you need helium so much? Helium-3? What is helium-3? I was like,
saw the moving moon.
Yeah. They did mine that there. Yeah. So does it make sense? I don't know. Like, what do you need helium for?
Is it?
Yeah, I'm just a lonely. I was just like trying to. They don't get into this, of course.
No. Well,
I was just curious what you thought.
So he's only 16, but the Reds are kind of bred as these sort of, they're kind of like the Irish immigrants, basically. So
They all have Irish accents.
yeah, they do, and they love the drink, and they love to dance.
And this would be a perfect setup to hook you into a video game world. The Mars descriptions, I loved, like the mines and the equipment and the vipers in the mines.
Oh yeah, the pig
And,
vipers. Yeah.
and then there's like silk farms with spiders in them.
Yeah, women are working in the silk farms.
And like the hidden paradise of a garden somewhere.
Yeah, you're skipping forward. So,
But I'm not saying the plot. I'm just saying things that are there. Like it's so creative, and it would be so visually appealing, something TV show or video game.
yeah, definitely.
And exploring the video game world, this place, I would love that.
It's kind of like a Fallout, I guess. Starting off in the vaults and then moving on to the worlds and stuff.
Yeah.
Kind of. So yeah, they're kind of bred to sort of kind of marry young and sort of die at a young age as well. So 2 points about Darrow is that his father was just like a skeleton hanging in one of the...
Yeah, that's one of the first things in the book they say about the hanging.
Yeah, his father, he did a dance. Not the river dance, but he can be hung for the river dance.
But the thing I meant is how they hang them.
Yeah, they hang them up in the community area.
Yeah, and then you have to pull their feet.
Yeah, they snap their neck because the gravity's not strong
It's
enough.
like one of the first things they say in the book. I remember starting and they were like, "Oh, I live on Mars and people get hanged all the time and they don't really hang. You have to pull their feet to crack their necks." Yep. And I was like, "What?"
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, it's quite violent, but it doesn't seem to... It's not like we read Chuck's books and like his descriptions of violence just want to make you throw up. And this is like, oh, okay.
This is like a video game, but very gruesome and very rough.
Yeah. So he's married to a woman called Io, who's also, I think she's 15 or 16 as well.
I forgot these ages. It's
they're really young.
Okay.
And she's working in the spider silk farm thing, and she discovers like this hidden dome. And they can actually see the stars, where they thought that they were working underground completely. They didn't know about this, and they have a night out in the dome secretly, and later that they get caught.
Oh yeah, yes.
By the tin pots, the tin soldiers, and so she's going to be whipped as punishment.
Yeah. So because the governmental system or the ruling class, they just don't want these Reds to do anything but work and be ground up.
Yes.
And any freedom or anything outside of that is severely punished by getting whipped, for example.
But I think during when she's getting whipped, she starts singing the forbidden song.
That's how it's about the setup of the book, like the motivation.
Yeah. And so she's the gold who decides to hang her. And Darrow has to pull the feet and break her neck. Yeah.
Yes, it's like a super dramatic, gruesome scene.
Yeah.
And the gold who does it, what's his name? Do you know?
Some Roman. They all got these Roman.
Does he come back or not?
Yes, he's very important.
Exactly. Yeah. So who is it? Well, it's okay. You just tell me later.
Yes. He's a key character later in the book.
Yeah.
He's one of the most powerful people.
Yeah, I'm sure I don't know who's it.
They all have these like Roman Bacchus, Aurelius. And
when I was reading it, I wasn't sure who was who because the name. I was feeling so dumb, so I hope he would clarify who this guy was, because I'm sure it was one of them, and I don't know which one.
He was
Is it the one at the very end?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I thought. Okay, that's what I need to know.
So the rule is that I think for the people who are hung, you can't bury them in the earth. So later, Darrow cuts her body down and buries her.
Which is also illegal.
Illegal, yes.
Yeah.
So he gets punished, and his uncle, what's the other guy's name? Uncle Nero. Yeah, Uncle Nero. Knows what he's doing, and basically kind of spikes his drink or something. Basically poisons him to make him fall asleep. So Darrow is also executed, but he just wakes up in the dirt.
This is like a theme that repeats. He keeps dying. Yeah. Just like a respawn in a video game.
So he's brought back to life, by a group called the Sons of Ares, which the Reds kind of think are just a stupid terrorist group who are just blowing
like the rebels.
Yeah, yes, basically, yeah. But they're the group that actually brings him back. And they said, well, we can recruit you but you have a choice. Of course, he doesn't, and that kind of moves on to the next part.
Yeah, that's when I started. I messaged you, and I was like, "Yeah, it was okay." And then he became a golden god, and I was like, "Yeah."
So, what do they want him to do? Well, they want him to become a gold. How are they going to do that? They have these people called carvers.
Until then, they never explained what gold to be a gold actually meant.
Yeah, well, before that as well, that Darrow finally reveals. He's shown that you've been deceived. He's shown that Mars is already colonized. It's been colonized for hundreds of years already. You're slaves, and you've just been working for us.
Which is the same premise like the Hunger Games.
Okay.
They have them working and dying, and they just have them believe other stuff.
Okay.
And then the one character sees the truth, and that's it.
So we're gonna turn you into a gold, and you're going to rise up through the society, and you're going to be a commander and command fleets and armies and everything like that.
At this point, I kept thinking, what is the end game? Do they know? I don't think they do. Like, it almost felt like he's like a suicide terrorist at first. Like, he's just gonna get in there and destroy as much as he can, and then it's done. And even at one point in the story, they mention he's not the first one to try this.
No, there's been a lot more that some have died. Some have actually gotten into the society.
So what are they trying to send them to do? Are they trying to have a person like a spy? Or are they trying to damage the society? We don't know.
It's revealed later in the books what they kind of influence it. Yes, so.
So they have a plan.
Yes, they do have a plan.
They're not just throwing people at it.
No.
That's how I felt like.
No. He doesn't really want to do it. He's like, I'll do anything but this. Don't make me do it. But he's kind of forced to do it. So they got this carver called Mickey who kind of turns him into a golden god.
That was fun. I was surprised how much fun this part was.
Yeah, he's like crushing fucking boulders and shit in his hands and stuff like this. Because the golds are like, they're over 2 meters. Even the women are huge. They're massive. And the reds are like 140, 150 centimeters high. They're small people. So he's been completely like transformed.
It's almost like the Matrix when they get him out and train him and load stuff into his brain. I was thinking. So this is the same but more physical. So they keep breaking his body and building up his muscles and training them, and he like makes some friends, and then
that's true.
they start to be scared of him because he's too powerful.
Yeah.
And he's like, who am I even now?
Yeah. Looking shit around again. What's what I was going to say? All right, so to get into the higher echelons of the Golden Society, you need to go through something called the Institute, which will sort of choose the best leaders. And there's a process to get through of, they're doing medical tests to make sure he is who he is. They managed to somehow trickle the system to do it. I don't remember details of it. And anything else in this first part that you want to mention?
Oh, we did part like a test, and he had super perfect scores in the IQ intelligence something test.
Yeah, there's other things too. One other thing too, because about the colors, when he's first exposed to sort of society on Mars, he's from this sort of red, kind of very conservative, sort of family orientated. He's quite disgusted by how sort of openly the golds are, things about sex and other things like this, nudity and things like that.
Yeah, some manners. And how they talk.
Yes.
Which is also the same in Hunger Games.
Yeah, so he has to learn how to talk. Like, the Reds would say like bloody damn. And,
that was fun.
Gory damn.
Has their own swear words.
Yeah, good man. Things like this. So they have their own kind of like dialect and things like this. Yeah. So.
I like that part a lot. It was interestingly detailed and creative in the way they had to build him up.
Yeah, and this is a part in the text as well. Sorry, in the audio, where at the beginning he's like just doing a very Irish narration.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And then he starts learning the gold speak, and he's doing this sort of more posh English kind of accent. But when he's doing the narration, not the actual speech or dialogue, he's kind of mixed it up a little bit. It's kind of like it's got still traces of that Irish.
It's, the voices are also fun. It's the best part about this almost.
yeah, definitely. It does elevate the book, I think. So, into the Institute.
So the Institute is to train you and make you understand the system and have you experienced enough so you can be a gold in like the higher places, like
Yeah.
a leader.
Yes.
They don't even,
Rulers. Yeah.
and the rulers are chosen by at first like are intelligent enough, like pass the test, blah blah, and then they have to have this rite of passage called something passing. What is it called?
The passage.
The passage.
So, you forgot to mention as well that it's kind of like they do it for like basketball or something, like a draft. So there's like a number of 12 houses, I think, isn't there?
But I thought that was already the passage.
No, this is before the passage.
Oh, there's too many passages.
Yeah.
But
So before the passage, there are a number of, I think, 12 houses, like Mars, Jupiter, some other ones, and they want to recruit 100 students for each of the house. The passage is basically the top 50 students are paired up with the bottom 50 students, and they're put into a room. And so
that's what I thought was the start of the passage.
Yeah, that is. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, but before that, there has to be a recruiting passage.
Oh, okay.
Part for each house. Each house recruits 100. And basically, they get kidnapped throughout the night when they think everything's okay, and they get put in a room. The proctor, who works for the house, throws in a ring and says there can only be one that comes out of here. Whoever comes out with the ring, you're a member of the house.
Yeah.
So basically, it's kind of like a culling. They're culling like the lowest.
So this is exactly what I meant in the beginning. This is exactly what the Hunger Games don't get into because they're not comfortable, and this is what you want. You want rough men.
So Darrow, who has a new name.
No, he didn't. He didn't change the name. That's the point.
Oh yeah.
It's called Darrow.
They keep saying it's a very unique name or something.
Yeah. He said that I will do this, but I will at least keep my name, my first name, because that's the only thing I can. So they make up a fake family, a fake history, and fake surname.
Yeah,
the surname is ridiculous. It's like Andrelius Alexander Caesar or something.
All these weird like Roman names.
And
so Darrow has to kill later on. Basically, one of his friend's brother.
I don't know his name, but yeah.
Yeah, so that's kind of an important point.
So we get introduced to the characters, and they get into the passage, and he has to kill one of the main characters, like one of the important characters' brother.
Yes,
which is a big plot point.
Yeah,
but I almost forgot. I was waiting for this moment. I almost skipped it. There was a passage I had to read to you.
Okay, sure.
Before they get in the passage, they finish him. Making him into the god, and they talk about like, what does it mean to be a god? What does it mean to be a leader? What does it mean to be like a super person, powerful person in like a leader? And they say that the best of gold is supposed to rise, and they have yet to be chosen a winner, and they have to be the best, blah blah. And they not only do this to rule the institute and the society, they have to be the fittest and most powerful, most intelligent. And somebody is like, what? I don't get it. Like one of the carvers. And he's like, so this kid is what? Is he predestined Alexander, Caesar, Genghis, a Wiggin? I ask. A Wiggin?
What? Wiggin?
I'm trying to see how much sarcasm this is or how much you don't know.
I don't know.
How much you don't know?
What are you talking about?
Who's a Wiggin?
Who?
There is a reference in this book
To
a Wiggin.
Not from only Wiggin I know is Simpsons.
No, it's Andrew Wiggin.
Andrew Wiggin?
Yeah. Who's Andrew Wiggin?
Who's that?
Think about it for a second.
I have no idea.
Which book do I like? And who's the guy?
Wouldn't it be better if they're talking about Ralph Wiggin from The Simpsons? It wouldn't be Ralphie.
I wanted to show you that you missed this reference to a book you read. Later, though.
Okay. Wow.
So Andrew Wiggin is mentioned in this book as an example of the most powerful and most highly placed best leader ever in history.
I think he's called Ender.
Yeah, but his real name is Andrew, and the kids called him Ender.
Okay. Alright, break. Yeah, so after the passage,
Kill each other.
yeah, and some of them are kind of like, yeah, that was cool, and then others are kind of shocked.
Some of the characters are real bastards.
Yeah.
And like scary, and some of them are like very meek looking,
Yes.
and some of them are more intelligent.
Yes.
and there is a huge deal made about Darrow deciding to have to kill a person who's very like he made a friend with him, I think.
Yeah,
He was talking to him before.
Yeah, he's a very kind, kind of nice kid. Something.
Yeah.
And a lot of them, especially the kid he killed, didn't think it was actually like real. They're not actually going to kill him. And
there's a theme that keeps repeated that he is a good guy by heart and he really tries to do the right thing, but people keep asking him to do bad things. So is he really the good guy? This is like a thing that repeats in the book. So first they ask him to, overthrow the regime and just help them with this rebel organization, and he wants that, but the things he has to do to have that happen are so horrible, and he keeps questioning himself about this. And this is the biggest point so far, where he's like, is this really what I should be doing? Murdering people who are so nice to me.
Yeah, that's sort of an interesting conflict throughout the book, I think. And later in the series as well, he's still struggling with that kind of dual kind of, even dual personality that he has.
That's also, it was kind of interesting. I like that.
So basically, let's just explain what the Institute is in the game. So there's, I think, the houses, and each house will have like a primus, like the leader. How to become primus? Well, you have to score points, basically.
That was before you got in or something.
No. It's like they have this. Everyone has this kind of like an object they use to. You can capture slaves from other houses.
Oh yeah.
And enslave them, and that's how you kind of win.
But the person who got it first, I thought that was the person who got the highest score on the test.
Yeah. So he would be at the beginning.
At the beginning, yeah.
So the goal is to win. So conquer all the other houses. Become primus, and then if you become primus, then you have the most opportunities to get into the highest parts of society or the highest parts of military, things like this.
And the way to test this, or the game in within the houses, it's the Hunger Games basically, but more strategic and in medieval times.
Yeah, some houses have kind of some weapons. The house that Darrow's in is called House Mars, who are just kind of quite wild. They don't really have anything.
Yeah.
Well, other houses have horses and other kind of.
And I was very unclear about: is this simulated? Like, is this a planet? Is this an arena? Is this like, where is this?
This is on Mars, and it's a purposely constructed area for the Institute.
But it is. They never mention gravity, for example.
They do.
But not much, and
they talk about how easy it is to move.
Oh, they do. Okay. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Actually, in the beginning, they run and catch the deer.
Yes.
And okay. Yes. Sorry.
So each house has also a proctor who is supposed to be kind of guiding the students. And House Mars has a very interesting proctor.
Fitchner. That's the only name I remember.
And Fitcher, there's also another boy who should have been killed in the passage, but he didn't, called Severo. Severo was like the last draft pick, but he managed to kill one of the top people.
Yeah.
And it's later revealed that Severo is
his son.
Yeah.
Fitchner's son.
Yes.
A lot of these relationships, and it's not very fair, and all this is revealed slowly.
It's kind of clever because at the beginning as well, like Fitchner's referring to his own son as like, you little goblin.
Yeah, that was fun.
Slagging him off all the time.
Fitchner is like, that was some jokes actually in the book. It was kind of comedic.
Yeah.
In the Hunger Games, there is the same character, but he's a drunkard who doesn't want to do anything.
Is that Woody Harrelson?
Yes.
Yeah. The only part of the movie I remember.
Yeah.
Woody Harrelson is a weak.
And he's like much more important, and they keep talking regularly, and he's much more involved. In this one, Fitchner is there like at the beginning and at the end, and he's not really involved.
Yeah. So basically, I'll really summarize it as quickly as I can. So one of the houses has another wild monster child. He's got a nickname called the Jackal.
Wild monster child.
But the Jackal's father is the gold that killed.
That's him. I wasn't sure that was him. Okay.
Darrow's wife.
Okay.
He's one of the most powerful men in the galaxy. And the wife of the most powerful man, we've got his name, wants her son, or the son, to So they're kind of rigging the game.
Yeah.
And they're kind of using either pressure or blackmail or whatever.
So we didn't mention that a huge deal of the game is that they have nothing. They literally get into a forest, a stone castle. They have problems with getting water. They don't have clothes. They have to kill animals to have pelts and fur. They have problems with bacteria. This is the first time most of these people have any dirt in their life.
Yes.
They're very appalled.
Yeah.
And the huge part is like, can you even survive in this environment? But Jekyll already has like night vision and stuff.
But Jackal why is he called the Jackal? He apparently at the beginning, he almost lost the game and he collapsed some tunnels in his castle. He actually ate some people.
There's a lot of like tidbits about him.
Yeah.
And then there is like a scene we'll talk about later that basically kind of shows he's insane. Like.
Yeah.
But we don't really know what happened to him.
Yes, and there's another character who is leading another house called Mustang, and that's kind of the main kind of romantic interest that happens later. Darrow, rises up and sort of starts leading the house more strongly, but he's sort of betrayed later by another psycho in the group called Tactus, I think.
Yeah.
Tactus ends up sort of even raping other members of the house and stuff like this. So eventually they retake the house and they're going to punish Tactus. And then there's a twist that when Tactus is talking, he says that, Darrow's interrogating him, saying, why did you rape them? And he says, well, they came for my women first. So they came for... And then he mentions something later about, he says, like, bloody damn. So Darrow, sort of the penny drops and realizes he was a Red. And he's just sort of out for revenge, basically. So he's been one of the ones that was successfully transformed into a gold as well.
So that's what made me think like they have no plan.
Yeah, well,
because this guy was like, what is he doing?
Well, how many can they actually successfully
convert? But he should have some sort of a purpose.
But the guy was clearly nuts. So
okay. Sure.
Yeah.
It didn't make sense to me how he would give up so easily and his motivations.
But he's suddenly become like strong and powerful, and you're like,
they show.
I would like crack some heads.
But that's true. But they show and they make it a point that Darrow goes through a transformation where he wants to be like what's his name? Tactus. Sorry, I meant to say cactus. So Tactus, like he would want to do that, but through the experience of becoming something else and seeing the real colors of everybody, he matures and sees that that's not the point.
Yeah,
and when you go through this experience, you would have to change your opinions to be more involved than just rape, kill, and destroy.
It depends on the person.
I don't think so. Like,
I think it does.
Like if they like if it was that person, he wouldn't be able to get through this transformation. I think he would have correct much earlier. When they started breaking his arms to make them stronger, he would just kill them and run away. Like that's the kind of person that he would be. But okay, like not a big deal, but
that's a fair point. Yeah, true. Yeah. So and then later, I think Jackal kind of reveals through some, I think, recording or message to.
What's his name?
It's so important character.
Yeah, this is one of the most important characters, and we don't know what it is.
Cassius is the brother of Green. I think his name was the brother that Darrow killed in the passage. Yeah, and later Jackal manages to get a video recording to Cassius to show that Darrow was the one that murdered.
Just a huge cheat, because then it's revealed the whole battles are broadcasted to the public.
Yeah,
it's like a show, same like the Hunger Games.
But they're kind of rigging it,
editing it.
Yeah,
so it's delayed and they edit it and then they release it.
Yeah, because it's rigged. They want the Jackal to win.
And also the proctors, they are watching it like in Olympus.
Yeah, it's like floating mountain above the. So
they have like anti-gravity boots and like anti-gravity, I assume, tables and chairs.
Grab boots, they're called, yeah.
But at one point they were sitting at a table watching them drinking wine. Is the table levitating? What was happening there?
Of course it is. So anyway, so then Cassius basically tries to murder Darrow and leaves him for dead. Darrow is later rescued by Mustang. He's also being pushed out of a house, or I think her house being ransacked by another group.
Yeah.
And finally, they kind of come up with a plan to sort of change the paradigm of, we're not going to take slaves, we're just going to form alliances, and then we're going to take Olympus.
Yeah.
Because we found out that they're bringing it against us.
I think you just summed up 70% of the book.
I did. So they take Olympus, take down some of the proctors, and the final thing is Darrow won. And the most powerful guy in the universe or the galaxy here, what's his name? You got the names in front of you.
I don't know what it is.
He killed Darrow's wife.
Yeah, I know, but I don't know who it is.
Augustus.
Eternity later.
Yeah, Darrow's won the game, basically. He's become Primus and won the competition. And Augustus, the man who basically murdered his wife, offers to become, Darrow can become his apprentice and serve under him. And yeah, Darrow's full of rage and disgust, but he accepts it. Yeah.
So
says the words, like swears an oath to him as well. Yeah.
Darrow won everything, so he has the choice to become anything basically in society, and this is like his way to get into causing as much damage as possible.
Yes.
Because he wants to spite the man that killed his wife.
Yes. There's another important point that we kind of glossed over in my quick summary. Mustang and the Jackal, brother and sister. Yeah. And there's a scene later where Darrow basically works out who he is, and he had a theory about jackals, and the jackal's kind of pretending to be this sort of meek, kind of quiet boy, and then they basically trapped him in this castle. And Darrow puts like a knife into his hand. Yeah,
this scene was like one of the things I definitely want to talk about.
And so he says, I had a theory that jackals will bite off their legs or something to get out of a trap. And Darrow gives him a knife and says, you can cut off your arm and you can go. And he does it.
He pins his hand to the table and it's fine. And then he actually does cut his hand off and throws a bomb or something and kills a bunch of people in the process. Like one of like the right hand of Darrow at the time. It's a very sad moment. And this is a point where Darrow basically won the game. He conquered all the houses, and the only thing left to do is just give it to Jekyll as well.
Yeah.
And he's just like, I'm gonna give it to him. I'm gonna put him in here. He cannot do shit. I'm gonna pin his hand, and I'm just gonna talk about it. And of course, he's not gonna cut his hand off.
Yeah.
And he does.
And there was a sort of a scene at the end as well where he was worried. He realizes who Mustang is.
Yeah.
He thinks that she's going to betray him because he's his brother, but she brings the jackal back in like a sack or something and dumps him on the ground.
They go through a very interesting relationship because first they have to battle each other. She doesn't trust him. He doesn't trust her. Then they almost kill Darrow because they betray him. Because he becomes kind of famous, they call him the Reaper. And he almost starts like a cult.
Yes.
And they keep showing the sign of his weapon everywhere, and he becomes feared. Some people don't know who he is. It's like a legend.
Yes.
So then they overthrow him, and he has to heal, and also helps Mustang heal. And they are enemies, but they are both just nice people enough, so they don't murder each other immediately.
Yes.
So they kind of hit it off, but not really, and they still don't trust each other very much. But then their relationship kind of builds throughout the game, and then they become like husband and wife. And then they realize after all this they've been through together, it's been like a year at that point, I think.
Yeah, this goes on for quite a long time.
Yeah, the game takes a lot of time.
Yeah.
And then when it finally is about to end, they get back to like, oh, I think this relationship probably not a good idea. This is not gonna work out, and especially Darrow's like thinking about it, and then he's like, oh, of course, it's like, oh, I'm so dumb. This is so stupid of me. I've been falling in love. I've been falling for her so long. Of course she's been playing me. Of course she's his sister. Of course.
Yeah.
This makes so much sense. And then he's like, oh, I'm gonna kill her as soon as she comes back. And she stole half of my army and all this. And then no, she doesn't.
No.
So I was very surprised.
Yeah, I thought she was gonna do it too, but no.
There are many points in the book where I was sure where it was going, and it didn't do it. Like the scene where he becomes a guard and he gets in the shower in the gym or something. There's like this muscular girl, and then he sees her again or something. I was like,
it's Mustang.
Yeah. So I was like, this is gonna be like, okay, they fucked immediately or something. So it was better than that. Yeah.
Do you have any other like favorite characters in the book?
Yeah, there's a bunch of characters, but I don't know any of their names.
I probably like Severo the best actually.
Severo was great, and
He's like a foul mouth little fucker.
and the guy who's like huge, and they have the first battle 1-on-1, Pex.
Yeah, he's like swinging people around.
Yeah,
Him as well.
I like Pex a lot,
Yeah.
and that was the battle I liked the most when they had the first showdown between Darrow being the leader, and they had like an organized attack on another one of the castles, and before they like pretended to have a fake 1-on-1, and then they attacked anyway, and they battled Pex and Darrow, and they had like a bunch of scenes where he jumped on the shield and they like strategically did this and that, and that was a very well described fight that I think paradoxically would work much better in a book than in a movie, because in a movie it looked ridiculous.
Yeah, definitely.
But in a book it was great, so I had much fun with that. And Pex is the guy who dies when they pin the Jackal's hand, I think.
Yeah, so Pax basically saves Darrow's life by kind of shielding him and protecting him.
So they beat each other up, and then when Pex's castle is overthrown, Pex survives, and then they become best friends and they help each other.
It's recording again, so it doesn't loop.
Oh, I thought it would stop.
No, it splits it up. Yeah, so Pax is actually someone that is kind of fondly remembered later in
It was
like that.
probably the saddest moment when he died.
Yeah, just like shielding Darrow and getting stabbed to death.
Million people dies, but this one was the only sad one.
The other thing too, that in the book as well, there's supposed to be these like medbots that come down. And
Oh yeah. That's also in the Hunger Games.
Yeah, to like sort of heal people. But so at the beginning, everyone's like, look, yeah, they're not going to let anyone die. Even though we just all murdered some person. And then, lots of people get their throats cut and stabbed and, horrible, eaten. And, it's violent, yeah. But it doesn't linger like other books.
Yeah, it doesn't disgust you. But it's trying to be very mature and, like, rough and, like, hard about it. Like, I felt like it was pretending to be something it didn't have to do, like the roughness and death, and like this is so bad and people starve to death and they get raped, and it's all mentioned, but it doesn't feel like it. Like in the book, it was like you said, it's kind of lighthearted, but it says horrible things, and that's the only problem I had with it. It was like not funny enough, and not dark enough, or not serious enough. It was like fun, but pretending to be dark. And I didn't think it was dark. I think it was just fun.
Yeah.
And that's my kind of issue with it, because why was it so dark? Like, it didn't have to be like this much of a...
But it seems to have that... A lot of people said the same thing, that it was fun. And I think it just has that broad appeal with a lot of people. And I don't know how he's managed to do it, actually.
Because, like I said, he doesn't get into it, he doesn't linger on it, and it's just like...
Okay, we talk too long.
Sorry.
You talk too long.
1 hour now. So I like it, but it's good. Just felt strange. I felt like he's trying to be edgy, like, and he doesn't have to.
I remember when he's like 22.
Yeah,
I was like,
so that makes sense.
Yeah, I was like, I couldn't even write something like that now.
Obviously,
I
never would be able to do that.
Yeah, so I mean, he's just been a young man writing what he thinks is kind of cool or appealing. I mean, there's 127 people who rejected the book. Before. I
imagine that
we
skipped the part where he improved upon it. Like, when they rejected, maybe work on it more.
Sure.
So maybe it evolved a little bit.
Okay.
It was 2 years, so I imagine he would edit it. So before we finish, I wanted to just quickly mention I was looking for like a mind duck, like a miniature mind duck, because I was expecting there wouldn't be any in this one. But I have a few ideas. Did you have anything like an interesting thought, or like something eye-opening, or not really mind-blowing, I don't think, but just if you're looking for a mini mind duck link?
No, I think I was thinking about today about the ranking of colors, and I was like, that's just like our society, with like, I was gonna say gingers at the bottom.
That's awful.
I'm sorry. I had to say it.
Gingers at the bottom. Who did ever like decide that? What is the cultural reason for this? Like, why do the gingers always have this like joke about them?
So that I heard like Ricky Gervais was talking about it with Carl Pilkington once, and I think one theory was that Judas was a ginger or something.
What? I don't know.
Or Carl Pilkington made another joke about how so ginger cats, no other cats seem to want to be around them. But I don't know. But I don't know where this whole ginger thing comes from either.
Yeah.
But yeah.
The most like eye-opening moment I could think of was when we talked about the moment where they take over the castles and they rape women, and then Darrow has this conflict, like I have to stop them being animals, and I can't let them rape each other, and this like medieval society rule, we have to get past that and evolve past that. And how do you force people who are used to only being able to like the whole point of their existence is, can I eat? And then I'm alive and okay. And then how do you get past this? How do you show people that what their belief and how they behave and what they live like is completely wrong? And he had them lash him.
Oh, yeah.
So that's something I wouldn't think of. And that was kind of eye-opening for me. So he had like a person who raped a bunch of people. I think first he was lashed, or
Yeah.
and then he said, "Okay,
You lash me now.
and you lash me now, and you do it,
Yeah.
and you will watch everybody." And at the point, he was the most respected leader. He was like the leader of a cult at the time.
Yeah.
And everybody was like, "This is so wrong. This is the most wrong thing I've ever seen in my life." All these people used to be in rich families, and then they devolved into medieval just nothing savages. And now he had to come up with a point to show them that, and he thought of making them whip him into almost dying, which I thought was kind of mind duck to me.
Yeah,
I wouldn't think of this. Like, how would you do this? Like, how would you make people change their perspective in this scenario? Like, I can't think of anything.
No, me neither.
So this was kind of clever of him.
Yeah, I felt a little bit cliched kind of thing.
Yeah,
you know, you with me kind of thing. And so,
but it was like a thing that they understood. They needed to see that.
Yeah.
They needed to do that to understand it. Because if they just, went on, it wouldn't have changed. It would just be people being savages.
Yeah. But I think the Mustang, she was making jokes about it.
Yeah. And then they self-referenced it and they mentioned that it was cheesy.
Yeah.
So I appreciated that. I like that part.
Yeah. I thought so too. That's what I thought it was a bit cheesy. But the self-reference is quite good.
We mentioned that there's a mind duck in each book, so I wanted to find one.
You gave me one.
Yeah.
Reds and gingers at the pen.
Oh my God. Okay. So, because these books are really easy to read, really fast to read, and not that long, I would love to do the series eventually. I'm not saying I'm going to read the next one right now, but I want to read the next one.
Okay.
So
I'll be back. Of course.
I'm happy you'll be back.
Yeah.
And we should make a pact or a deal or something that after I've read, like, let's say 3 of them, you'll read The Speaker for the Dead.
All right, sure.
Okay.
All right, that's a deal.
So after the 3rd book of this series, let's do Speaker for the Dead.
Okay.
That's our
Sure.
Mutual torture experiment.
I think I'm getting the raw end of the deal, but anyway. Okay.
I know. But I'm doing more books.
Fair enough.
So that's something.
Okay, sure.
And it's really short, the other books. This has 200 pages.
All right.
Okay, thanks a lot for listening. Thanks a lot for watching us if you're here somewhere. I don't know what's going to happen with this video recording.
We'll see what happens.
But of course, this is mainly a podcast, so if you want to see our ugly faces, you're welcome. If you don't,
speak for yourself, man.
You have an ugly face. Okay, if you want to see an ugly face and beautiful drawings with a very highly decorated artist, then please have a look at the video.
Okay, cool. All right. Boy.
It's
my Irish boy.
Boy. We didn't say I used to have an Irish colleague.
Oh, okay.
And I always laughed at how he said fuck. It's like fuck you, fuck. Sometimes.